No, it's Colossians chapter 3, verse 10. It was the heart cry of the Apostle Paul. He said after he listed all of his qualifications and all of the best things that had happened in his life, and then he listed all of the suffering that he went through, he said, I count it all done. He says, I count it all loss. And then here's what he said in Colossians 3:10, that I may know him, the power of his resurrection, and the fellowship of his suffering, being made conformable unto his death. Our pursuit of God is to be the pursuit of Jesus Christ and knowing him and the power of his resurrection. So any suffering that we're going through right now, any hardship, obstacle, or inconvenience, we ought to be looking for Jesus there. Every success, every benefit, every blessing that the Lord gives us as well, we ought to be looking for the hand of Jesus. He wants to guide us into those things so that we experience his power through it.
Amen.
Do you know him? God wants you to know him and understand and experience that power. All I once held dear, built my life upon, all this world reveres and wars to own. All I once thought gain, I have counted loss, spent and worthless now, compared to this. Knowing you, Jesus, knowing you, there is no greater thing. You're my all, you're the best, you're my joy, my righteousness, and I love you, Lord. Now my heart's desire is to know you more, to be found in you and known as yours, to possess by faith what I could not earn, all surpassing gift of righteousness, knowing you, Jesus, knowing you, there is no greater thing. You're my all, you're the best, you're my joy, my righteousness, and I love you, Lord. Oh, to know the power of your risen life, and to know you in your sufferings, to become like you in your death, my Lord, so with you to live and never die, knowing you, Jesus, knowing you, there is no greater thing. You're my all, you're the best, you're my joy, my righteousness, and I love you, Lord. And I love you, Lord. And I love you, Lord.
Amen. Thank you, Andrew.
It's not very long, and the lesson's not very long, which I get usually the loudest amens when I say that. So, yeah, I get the loudest amens and hurrah. Psalm 20. Now, The idea here in this psalm is trust in the Lord. That's the idea, trusting in the Lord, okay? So I'm going to read it, and I really have some good thoughts. Like I say, it's not a long lesson, but it is a good lesson. I promise you it is. Psalm 20. The Lord hear thee in the day of trouble. The name of the God of Jacob defend thee. Do you notice something there? This person is not praying for themselves. Do you notice that? This person, and David is the one who wrote it, he's not praying for himself. The Lord hear thee in the day of trouble. The name of the God of Jacob defend thee. Send thee help from the sanctuary, and strengthen thee out of Zion. Remember all thy offerings, and accept thy burnt sacrifice, Selah. Let's take time to think about it for a while. That's what that means, sort of a pause, if you would. Think about what we just read, or maybe if it was put into music, and we do know that a lot of these psalms are songs or hymns, and like when you sing a song, you come to a place where you pause, and that's what he's talking about here. Just take time to look at this and remember. Remember, verse 3, I'll read it again. Remember all thy offerings, and accept thy burnt sacrifice, Selah. Grant thee according to thine own heart, and fulfill all thy counsel. We will rejoice in thy salvation, and in the name of our God we will set up our banners. We will set up our banners. People will recognize us. We will set up our banners. The Lord fulfill all thy petitions. I think you're going to like what we got to say there. Now he goes to himself. He says, now know I that the Lord saveth his anointed. David saying that now about himself. I know the Lord saveth his anointed. It could either be, you could also think of it in the idea of the Lord himself being the anointed, Christ himself being the anointed. But David has started praying here for himself. And there was a prayer, he was praying for someone else. Or someone else was praying for him, I meant to say. Someone was praying for him. Now know I that the Lord saveth his anointed. He will hear him from his holy heaven with the saving strength of his right hand. Whenever you read in the Bible the right hand, you're talking about the power of God. The right hand of God, you're in reference to his ability to save. When you read that in the Bible, the right hand of God is the ability of God to save. So when you come across that in any of the reading of your Psalms or anywhere where it talks about the right hand of God, he's talking about the strength of God to be able to save. Verse 7. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. Now, my friend, let me tell you, there is great power in the name of the Lord. There is great power. You want to put the enemy on the flight, just mention the name of the Lord. You want to change a conversation from being an ungodly conversation into a godly conversation, just mention the name Jesus or God in the conversation, and all of a sudden things change. But anyway, some trust in horses, some trust in chariots, some trust in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. That's a powerful, powerful verse. They are brought down and fallen, but we are risen, and we stand upright. Save, Lord. Let the King hear us when we call. Now, I hope you enjoy these, first, the reading, and may God bless the reading of His Word, and may God bless these thoughts I believe that the Lord gave me to give to you. This is a prayer for victory. The battle is about to begin. So, he's about to face a battle, so prayer becomes very important. When you are facing a real personal battle in your life, something going on in your life, one of the wisest things you'll ever do is take time to pray. That's a smart thing to do. And that's what's happening here. They're getting ready to go to battle. And they stop to pray. So prayer is very important when you are preparing for battle. David knows he's going to need help. And when we know that we need help, it is also a good thing to take time to do what the Bible says, put on the whole armor of God. We got that out here on the sign, to put on the whole armor of God. Everybody is to do whatever they're supposed to do in this pandemic situation, and we have out here on our sign where it says wear a mask, we have wear the whole armor of God. Wear the whole armor of God. So, he goes to the Lord. David was a powerful king. It's very important. You realize David was a powerful king. But he knew where his real source of strength came from. He knew where it came from. Now, David. All of us has heard the name David. David and Goliath. He was the anointed when he was a boy to become king, and eventually he becomes king. David was a good king. Listen to this. He loved the people that he ruled. He loved, wouldn't it be nice to know that our leaders loved the people that they ruled? I mean, I think we would serve them a little bit, be more willing to accept them. That's what I think. David also loved his homeland. He loved the people. He loved his homeland. These are just what I put in here. I hope they'll be a blessing. In America, we need leaders who love America. In America, we need leaders who love America. This is our home. I'm afraid that we have leaders who are in love with themselves. I think, this is what Brother Paul thinks, I think they're probably power hungry. Anybody that spends $2 billion to get a job that pays $400,000 a year, something's not quite right about that. It doesn't add up. David, and then listen to this one. David loved to go to church. David loved to go to church. He really was glad when they said, "Let us go into the house of the Lord." He really was glad when that time came. He's the one that wrote those words. He wrote those words. I was glad when they said unto me, "Let us go into the house of the Lord." So I know he loved to go to the sanctuary. He loved to go to the tabernacle because there is where he worshiped God. David loved Israel, and Israel loved David. This psalm is a prayer recorded by David, but it was not his prayer, at least not the first 5 verses. It wasn't David's prayer. It was a prayer by the people who loved their king. Now, listen, you and I are instructed to pray for our leaders, right? But it sure would be nice if we really loved them. And it sure would be nice if they really loved America and they spoke out words that would cause you to think that they want the best for America. I mean, I don't know about you, but I love my country. And I served her, and I'm glad that I run into people. I ran into a guy today, a young man today who served. He was a Green Beret, and I talked to him, and he loved his country. Prayer recorded by David, but it wasn't even his prayer. I think that's pretty interesting. Have you ever heard somebody pray that you love to hear pray? There are certain people who pray. I mean, some reason, somehow, they just seem to be able to pray and say the right things, and it gets your attention and draws you in closer to the Lord. I just love to hear people pray. And can you imagine, listen to this. How would you like, hey, Peggy Sue, I'm going to ask Peggy back here in the back. Peggy, how would you like to walk in to maybe Raquel's room and hear her praying for her mama? Would your heart just jump for joy? Would it or not? And would you love to hear Robert praying for his mom and Danny and all the how about the grandkids? Be with grandma. Would that not pick up your... David listened to these people praying for him. He was about to go into a real battle, facing real enemies, and these people loved him so much that they prayed for God's protection. Now you think about that. Listening to somebody praying, and they call out your name. That all of a sudden, I listen a little closer. And David remembers the words that the people say, and he records it. They prayed this prayer for me. And he remembered by recording this psalm. Now, David was far from perfect. Would we agree on that statement? You know, they probably knew everything that David had done. Everybody knew what the things that David had done. Yet, they still loved him. They loved him because he loved them and he loved his country. The people knew that David loved the God of Israel. Now, I'll tell you what, I'd like for my president or my governor, I'd like to know that they love the same God that I love. I don't know about you, but I love my God. I love the Lord Jesus. I love him as much as I know how to love him. I'll say it like that. And I would like to hear our leaders pray prayers to the same God that we worship. And I don't care about all the other gods. I'm telling you, for as far as I'm concerned, there's only one true God. His name is Jehovah. He came in the form of Jesus. And I'd love to hear our leaders praying. I mean, it would make me feel a lot better about our leaders. I'll tell you that right now. It would mean a lot to Christians in America if they knew their leaders worshiped the same God that they do. David the king was about to lead Israel's army into battle. That's what they're praying. Our king is about to lead the army into battle. The people were encouraged. The army was emboldened. They were ready to face the enemy because the king was going to lead them. Their king would be out front. And so they prayed for God's protection upon their king. They were willing to fight and face their enemies. You know, they remembered when David fought Goliath. They remembered some of the other victories that David had had in his lifetime. And David, our king, is going to lead us. And we know David worships in the sanctuary and loves the same God that we love. David would be with them. Now, this is a little bit of prejudice here. I'm going to say, preface what I'm going to say, but this is what I'm going to say it anyway. David was not hiding in the basement, living in fear, trying to create fear in others. David is greatly loved by the army that he is leading, and David is greatly loved by the nation that he is ruling. And so the people, what we just read, the people with one accord are offering prayers for the king whom they loved. It sure would be great if we as Americans had leaders that had courage and faith. David knew where his strength came from. The people knew David was trusting in the Lord. The people knew that David was trusting in the Lord. David, the king, is the one who wrote these words. He wrote these words. Trust in the Lord with part of your heart. Oh, all your heart. Is that what he said? Did I say it? Did y'all correct me right? He's the one who said, trust in the Lord with all your heart. There was a real enemy, and we have real enemies today ourselves. And there was going to be a real battle. People were going to die. Hand-to-hand combat was about to take place, and David was going to be out in front leading them. David was believing that God would give him victory. David was believing that God would give him victory, and he did. Let the banners of victory wave high. His banner over me, I think, is the song. His banner over me is love. Let the banners of victory wave. Let the people rejoice. And let the people cry out, God, save our King. My friends, America also has enemies. And this is the time that we need to show courage, both to the world and even to our own families. There are times, this is a time in history right now. This is a time in history that Christians need to stand up and show that they have courage and faith and a God who will take care of them. Live or die, we are the Lord's. And I'm like you, I want to live a long, healthy life as long as I possibly can, and I want to do everything I can. But I'm certainly not afraid of Mr. Death. He's just one step away. He is just one heartbeat away. He is one long breath away. We need to show courage. Our God is greater than any enemy that may come against us. And I want us to remember that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You are more powerful and more awesome than you may realize. God is with you. You will have victory. Now he finishes the lesson by saying, some trust in horses, some trust in chariots, but you will trust in the name of your God. There's great power in the name. There's great power in that name, the name Jesus. I know God will be with us. And I have confidence and faith that our God will see us through. Little song says, resist Satan, he will flee. He will flee. He will not deceive you when you quote the Bible. When you quote the Bible, he will leave. No weapon formed against you. You're more powerful than you think you are. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Stand up for Jesus, ye soldiers of the cross. Lift high his royal banner, it must not suffer loss. From victory unto victory, his army shall he lead, till every foe is vanquished, and Christ is Lord indeed. My dear friends, our God, your God, has given us victory over death, hell, and the grave. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We're not trusting in horses or chariots or even presidents. We're trusting in the King of Kings. God bless you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. And I'm going to ask God to